Former President Donald Trump won the Michigan GOP presidential primary by a landslide.
Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley says, though, despite that victory by former President Trump, she will stay in the race. KTLA 5's Eric Spillman live in the newsroom with the details. Eric, good morning.
Morning, Chris. Morning, Megan. Both Biden and Trump won big last night, but what happened in Michigan shows weak spots or warning signs that both candidates are going to need to work on if they want to win the general election in November. Let's start first with Michigan's Democratic primary. President Biden received 81% of the vote, but a campaign to get people to vote uncommitted to protest his Mideast policies did better than organizers expected. More than 13% of Michigan voters cast their ballots for uncommitted, and that amounts to more than 100,000 people. Michigan has one of the largest Arab American communities in the country. Many are disappointed with the president's support for Israel. They're angry that he hasn't called for a ceasefire in Gaza. They pushed voters to choose uncommitted instead of voting for Biden to send a message. Last night, the organizers of that campaign danced and celebrated in Dearborn, Michigan. Their movement may spread to other states.
This is a victory of American democracy tonight. This is a victory of American democracy.
We are trying to save the Democratic Party from the destruction of human rights and the disregard of humanity of our Palestinian brothers and sisters.
In a statement last night, Biden did not mention the uncommitted votes, but the protest could turn out to be a real thorn in his side. He cannot afford to lose Michigan in November. He only won the state by 150,000 votes in 2020, and Trump won it by just 11,000 in 2016. So 100,000 votes is going to make a big difference one way or another. On the Republican side, the numbers to show you, Trump dominated last night. He ended up with 68% of the Michigan primary vote to Nikki Haley's 26%. It is the fifth straight primary win for Trump. He did well with evangelicals, conservatives, and people who live in rural areas, but he underperformed with suburban voters and people with college degrees and with voters who worry that he could be convicted of a crime. Haley performed well in college towns like Ann Arbor, where the University of Michigan is located, and in the suburbs near Detroit and Grand Rapids. She campaigned in Colorado yesterday and promised she's not quitting, not yet.
Well, I think my campaign is showing that there is a huge group of Americans who are saying we want something else. But more than that, what I want to tell my fellow Republicans is we can want to make all the changes in the country we want. But if you have a candidate that can't win a general election, none of that's going to happen.
Super Tuesday, which includes California's primary, is just a week away. Some polling locations are open before Election Day, and you can find your nearest voting center on our website at ktla.com. Megan?